Again, guys, I'm pretty sure nobody really expected to hear from me so soon, so quickly. But as the first viewers of my previous episode, of my first episode of the guide, properly pointed out, I've completely forgotten to cover wait a second, let me put on my face, okay? I've completely forgotten to cover the topic of gear augmentation. And damn, what a facepalm I've given myself. Alright, let me hop into the game. Exactly. I've forgotten to cover one of the most important topics in gaining an upper hand, as augmentation used to be a luxury, but it is a necessity right now, and without gear augmentation you shouldn't really get yourself into an endgame PvP. Now, what is an augment? Augment, as hopefully you already know, is just an additional mod to your moddable gear, and even unmoddable one. It used to be a luxury, as I said previously. It is a crit. It used to be only a crit result on your gear crafting. But as a few patches ago, and it is just reality today, it was made possible to augment any kind and type of gear with just an augmentation kit. This one little kit. Just let's look at my gear. You can see that Augment 50 is an additional mod. Well, there are different kinds of augments with primary stats, with secondary stats, with endurance, but all of them, whatever you choose to your needs, all of them increases your character progression, increases its effectiveness, and is an essential part of today's PvP. Without augments, just like without anything I talked about in the primary episode, without buffs, without data crons.
Eliminate the ads. Boost the quality.
God damn you, DIFM advertisement. Whatever, without boosts, without the companion bonuses, without Steam, your character will be inferior to your opponents. Now, this one's a little tricky. Augmentation kits as well as augments themselves can be crafted by three professions, which is synth weaving, arms tech, and armor mech. None of them are useful for PvP whatsoever. Simply because once you reach 50, you will probably get yourself one set of augments and forever forget about crafting more for each of your characters. Thus, it's much better to just purchase all of that from the GTN or crafters themselves, or have your guildies craft them for you, or friends, or relatives, or your dog, or whatever aliens you find. What might be useful though is picking up slicing to get these purple mats. You can either provide them to the crafters later on, or you can sell them and get cash, which you can later spend for something like augment kits and augments themselves. That's how it is. At level 50, augmenting your gear through the kits and using augments is important. What about the pre 50 though? As you can see from my crafting, I can craft some amount of pre-50 augments pre-end game, because someday in the future level cap will be increased, but I have no idea how things will look like then, so I'll just call what about the pre-end game. Well, in pre-end game, using something but the green augments really is not worth it. and it might not be worth it using these augments at all, simply because it costs a considerable sum of money to augment your gear, and since you will be changing it from level to level, well, it's totally not worth augmenting the earpiece or implants or relics before you reach 50, that's for sure. As for the other gear, you will have to find something that you will be using for prolonged period of time. For example, if you purchase some set from Cartel Market or some legacy set from GTN, whatever, which you can then augment. For example, if you decide to purchase Honor the Depth Shroud, well, no, it's level 42, but which sets are level 1 or level 10? Well, I guess some of these ones. For example, if you decide to purchase no, hell, this one should be level 1, right? Yes. If you decide to purchase a covered pilot suit, as you can see, it's level 1 and can be used from the start. If you're okay with the looks of it. Because as we all know, not the stats, but the looks of the gear are the most important. Anyway, and if you're okay with the looks of the gear, you can then augment it at the lower levels and then just swap out mods and swap out augments to suit your level as you progress with the game. Of course, it will cost you some sum of money, but having an augmented gear at the lower levels gives you a huge boost. I cannot just stress enough. At level 30 you can have 14 pieces of gear. You can have 140 of your main stat, more than anyone else in the party or any of your opponents, and 100 endurance more. No, it's not 100, it's about 60 or 80, something like that. You can see for yourself how much of a huge boost that is. Let me just log to some lobby character and see you how I've done it. Show you. What the hell, see you? I wanted to say let us see how I've done it, or show you, but instead I've combined those two sentences into see you how I've done it. Silly me. That's how silly you look when English is not your primary language. Alright, I'm logging into my Sage, who's about to hit 40, I think, or something like that. Okay. I've purchased a set of gear which I'm comfortable with the looks, and as you can see, I've augmented it. I'm using level 30 augments, which provide well, you can see the bonuses for yourself. The bonuses are huge, and my Sage is stronger at its level by a lot. And I'm going to keep using this gear at level 50, so I won't have to pay for augmenting it again. Even the lightsaber, I suppose. Yeah, now that I think about it, I've also forgotten to cover the topic of those new level 10 crystals, but anyway. I do not augment these items that I will be swapping a lot, or that I am swapping a lot, but everything else, everything moddable is augmented. And it boosts my performance in the pre-50 war zones by a huge margin. In the end game, I just have to stress it, just can't stress it enough, that it is impeccable that you use augmented gear. It boosts the output, damage or defense, survivability, whatever you decide to use, by a lot. Not having your gear augmented is like playing without two pieces. Do you really want to go into Warzone dressed like that? No. And then it all adds up. Having better stats and having esteem, having your companion bonuses. Well, now companion bonuses operate independently, but what am I talking about? Indeed, it all boosts your works together in synergy with the boosts, class buffs, and improves you even further. That's really important to understand, that it all works in synergy. Okay, hopefully you've understood how important it is to have augmented gear, and you can do it early on in the game and come into the end game with all your gear prepared. Alright, one last thing that I've just remembered I should go into is something that was introduced very recently. It's early game crystals, which come from the cartel packs and can be bought from the GTN. Used at level 10, but they have end game stats. They can have 41 critical, 41 endurance, 41 power, or 41 expertise. Absolutely the same as level 51s, but they can be used early on. Obviously, if you have cash to invest, you should. Think about what you will be using at level 50 and get those crystals. In this case, I decided I will be using 41 power, but I don't know anymore. Maybe I will swap them for the expertise one. And it's probably better to go for the expertise crystals if you are a PvPer. It will. 82 expertise will give you an amazing boost in lobby war zones, and you will probably stick to using them for the rest of your character's lifespan, which is indefinite. Problem is, these crystals usually cost. What the hell is this track? Let me swap for some better music if there is any. Yeah, this is much calmer. Problem is, these crystals usually cost a lot of money, so unless you're already an established player who hasn't really paid much attention to this, and already have some cash in the bank, you will not be able to afford them. But if you can, you should. It gives you a lot of an upper hand, especially in conjunction with everything I've talked right now with your gear augmentation, as well as all I've talked about in the previous in the main episode. Well, that's about it. I wanted to add, I suppose. Now I can imagine what your guy thinking. Holy don't know what word to insert, but these guys talked for 15 minutes and he's talking even more. Somebody shut them up. Alright, no props. I'm wrapping up. Another thing some people asked me after watching my main episode is why don't you go into more details about certain in-game things? Well, actually, I am hoping that most of the people who are watching this, even if they are not established PvPers, do know how to play this game. If you do not know some basics, please go on Google, because this video series is not aimed to to teach you how to play this game, but instead it's aimed to give you some advice about how to become a better PvPer. That's all. So it's best, if you do not know some basics, you would turn to Google or some established SWTOR website for that information. Alright, finally I'm shutting up for today, because I'm really tired talking myself already. Thanks for watching again. It's really important to me to hear your suggestions and advice if you have any. So follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, Twitch or at my site. Everything is daily PvP, except for the site, which is dailypvp.com. Thanks, guys. It's really important to me that you're paying attention and are willing to become better PvPers. I was recording this, wasn't I? Because if not, everything's fine. Okay. Mwah. Thanks, guys. And ladies, I hope.